You guys just you keep coming around. I just keep hearing about you guys.
And I might need to tell Ryan to cut that up a little bit and just put it in my audio for my phone.
First of all, I love the game. I had a passion to play the game, not only football, but I love the game of golf. And what it lends to a person and the friendships you develop on the golf course.
It's been a pleasure being on the drop. I wish you guys all the best down the road.
As someone like you have that golf itch like a lot of us do.
I keep track of you, and you are moving. You are on the move.
So listen, I'm a big New Jersey golf guy. You're very kind, Mike, and you too, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be on just a couple of Jersey boys here talking about something we love. All the best. I really enjoyed it.
This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Poro, and this is Ryan Coulott.
What's up, Drop Pod people? Welcome back to Interview Thursday. Mike, we have a very special guest, 3.0 version. Is this our first 3.0? How many times did we have Jack on? We had Jack 3. Okay. That's kind of what I thought. But nonetheless, Dottie Pepper comes on this week for her third appearance on the show for, as we joked, our yearly checkup, that she comes on to kind of give us a little Masters preview, talk about how the season's been going, because it's sneaky been going on for 4 months. And so, kind of her coverage, how her season's been, what's new with her, how her dog is, what her garden looks like. We kind of catch up all together with her. She's just an absolute doll of a person. I really enjoy spending time with her here, like we have Mike, and it's really awesome that we get someone of her caliber on to talk the Masters. And I mean, who better than someone who's inside the ropes during the Masters than her to talk about it? So,
yeah, listen, we go through the whole gamut. I mean, we talk about her controversial comments about slow play that lit up the internet, back when they were having their West Coast swing with CBS Sports. And now we got her picks. She makes predictions on this. So if you're catching this before the first ball is hit on Thursday, you might want to listen and stay tuned to the very end, because her sleeper pick is one that made my jaw drop.
Deep sleeper pick. So maybe you got to backdoor that person, but I'm not going to give you any hints there. But we'll see what Dottie says. But I don't want to hold you up, Mike. You got anything else for them?
I do not, sir.
Without further ado, we're going to send you to our interview with Dottie Pepper, lead on-course reporter at the Masters this week. Enjoy.
This episode is brought to you by Gimme Cocktails. Golf season is back, and so is your go-to drink for the golf course. Gimme Cocktails is a golf-inspired canned cocktail made with premium vodka, real juice, and a splash of fizz. Choose from lemonade, iced tea, or pineapple, and stay tuned. A brand new flavor is dropping soon. Crisp, refreshing, and it packs a 7% punch. You can find Gimme Cocktails at Total Wine, Circus Liquors, Huddy's and Colts Neck, and select golf courses across New Jersey. It's a Jersey-based company, so drink local. The perfect drink to tee up your round or toast to a great one after. Follow at gimme_cocktails on Instagram or visit gimmecocktails.com. Gimme Cocktails. Pick it up. All right, so joining us today is one of the most respected voices in golf broadcasting, lead on-course analyst for CBS Sports, Dottie Pepper. Dottie, thank you so much for coming on today's show.
Well, we do this just about every year at this time, don't we?
It's our annual visit.
Again.
Yes, I love that.
Right? Yeah.
Annual check-in, see what's going on.
That's right.
No one better this time of the year than you. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, this is the time here in the Northeast that we finally get to see what the sun looks like, and then we get the itch of the Masters right around the corner.
Right, and then like last night we had a ice storm warning. So yeah, welcome to April.
Sums it up to a T.
No kidding.
So let's kind of get started here. I want to focus a lot on like the 2025 season specifically, and a lot of things that, your broadcasting team has kind of done a little differently for the viewers. And I think this is something that is more enhancing in a lot of ways. The golf, the tracers out there more, the walking and talking is out there more. There's a lot of little intricacies I think that are different and are so much better. Why don't you talk a little bit about that side of things for you guys?
Well, you brought it right up. The tracers, they're virtually every shot, and now we have tracers from drones, so you can give and you can receive, so you can get it from both perspectives. I think if you put a big blanket over it, it's just technology, and we've been given such support from the home base to keep enhancing our technology and keep getting our shows, I think, more snug, more on point, being able to show more shots, being able to get to shots that matter quicker, and really tighten things up and give the viewers what they really asked for, and that was more golf and more interesting golf. Especially, I mean, I think one of the greatest things that happened is that we're focusing now on Fridays on cuts, and it's not, it's Golf Channel shows, but it's our production at CBS, and it's changed a lot. I mean, cuts matter. Signature events, they might go hide away from that, but cuts matter, and I think it's made Fridays so much better.
Especially for us, Dottie, Mike and I, we follow a couple, we got, Max Grazerman's a New Jersey guy,
Sure.
and Ryan McCormick's kind of bounced back and forth, but
Yep.
Chris Goddard,
Goddard,
as well,
yeah.
making sure these guys are, we talk about like they're not household names, so they got to be making cuts. They need to make the money in order to stay on the tour. Like it's
Sure.
kind of a snowball effect. So for us, making sure that they are making cuts is hugely important. Mike and I kind of focus a lot of our energy on that. Hey, they
Sure.
made the cut. We got to finish. We're getting paid this week. That's a big deal.
Well, yeah, and look, that Cinderella story is important, and it's not that crazy that guys come from making the cut by one or two or on the number and get in contention and throw something stupid low in there on Sunday and make people chase a posted number. It's good television, it's great theater, it's great meritocracy and competition.
Yeah, I think that's a
Well said there, for
huge.
sure.
Yeah, I think that's such a fun thing to watch because I think a lot of us see the Sundays and want to know who wins, but there's been
Oops, I think
stories.
I lost you guys.
Oh,
You there, Dottie?
I'm here. I lost you guys.
oh,
I think we lost Mike.
oh, is it me?
That's what I thought too.
Any better?
We can hear you, but not see you as well.
That might be a good thing for the audience. You know?
Self-deprecation is a beautiful thing.
So, it might not be the truth, Dottie. So, as I was saying, I think the cut thing is one of the nice things that you can focus on, and I think the idea of showing more golf, kind of matters because you've seen stories this year where guys just barely made the cut and kind of have gone on and won. For you so far this season, like what's been a story or an event so far that you guys have covered that you're like, you know what, this one is really, and I know it's early, but this one has kind of stood out more so than the others?
I really love the redemption story of Ludwig Oberg after, getting so sick the opening week of our schedule at Torrey Pines, losing 8-10 pounds. Here's a guy who couldn't really afford to lose that, had no real reason to, didn't really know what happened, but he got sick and couldn't keep anything down, withdrew at Pebble, well, didn't play at Phoenix, and then comes back in and wins at Torrey 2, as we ended up calling it, because of the tragedy of the fires in and around the Palisades and Riviera. I think that was pretty powerful. It also, there's been a lot of international winners this year. Dietrich in Phoenix, and McIlroy at Pebble, of course, Oberg in at Torrey again, and that has been a bit of a story. Who knows if that happens and continues through the Masters? But I think that's another story that's worth keeping an eye on. But I think, you talk about Scotty winning 2 out of 3 at the Masters, and people forget that, or don't, maybe it's not at the forefront of their memory, that Oberg was a rookie last year at the Masters and was in it until deep on Sunday. So I would keep an eye on that guy as we round in. That's part of a very important story that I think to keep an eye on.
Dottie, we're trying to get predictions at the end of the show, not the beginning of the show.
I've told you guys the betting on golf or predicting golf is as bad as horse racing.
That's great.
Is that something that you foresee happening going into the future, like this European invasion that's happening? You know, if you look at like another sport Mike and I love is basketball, and you have it on the NBA scale, where like the last X amount of MVPs have been born and moving, you know, into the next phase of golf here. Do you think that that's going to have this, like, again, Oberg and you know, this like crew of guys that are young and foreign born? Do you think that there's something in the golf world right now for that?
Yeah, I think it's a Ryder Cup year. That's pretty easy. It's a focus, and you know, there's been some trash talk back and forth. I think it's a Ryder Cup year. I mean, you could extrapolate out and look at college golf programs and recruiting and NIL. I mean, you could take as deep as you want to go, but I think first and foremost, it's a Ryder Cup year, and those guys want to make that team. And the easiest way to make teams is to win golf tournaments.
It's a great point.
Simple,
It's like
players simple
playing,
answer.
It's like players playing on a contract in their last year. They always typically perform because they know they got to get paid, and these guys want to make that tournament. It's like, you know, or that event. Dottie, I do want to bring up, you know, earlier in the year, you made a comment about slow play. And obviously, there's not an advocate more so than I am for fast golf. Like, you can walk and talk, you can play. There's no need for us to be doing all these things left and right and taking 5.5 hours. What was your take when you played about the speed of golf? I understand that routine matters, but there is got to be a little bit of a separation with that, isn't there?
Yeah, and I'm that. Yeah, I admittedly was not as fast as I should have been, but went to the officials and say, help me clean things up a little bit. How can I get better? That's out there. That resource is out there. But I think a lot of sports psychologists are, you know, this is your time, it's your routine, nothing gets in your way. Well, you can do that in a more efficient manner. And I think there's way too much caddy input. I think there's not enough own it on the players at times. I think there's a tendency to not hit the shot that your instinct tells you, and because you've got so much more input, you have so many more bits of information at your disposal that sometimes it works the other direction. It slows things down and it bogs your mind down too. And I think it's, you know, Frank and I, when we brought this up at Torrey on Saturday, they had taken 3 hours to play the first 9 holes. Now, granted, the conditions were very difficult. The greens were extraordinarily fast. Wind was howling. The final round of an important event, but there's still no excuse for that. There needs to be some reasonable adjustments, whether it's by the PGA Tour backing off a cut, not hiding flags as hard as they could. And that's what happened the next 2 weeks. They slowed things down because of weather. Well, 2 out of the next 3 weeks. And they finished way ahead of time at Pebble. And what happens? The guys aren't terrified to go up and just knock a 2-footer, and they're not marking. So that here goes the time. You're just chewing it up in a good way. You're getting out of there and saying, I'll finish. And they were a little bit softer at Torrey the second time around, partly because of weather, partly because of preparation. They wanted to present a different product. But I think the essence of our conversation was one word, and that was respect. And as good as that 50,000 person response was for the PGA Tour Fan Forward Initiative, I think it was very television centric, where part of this is the respect for the viewer, but it's also respect for the person who's actually out there in the field watching this in person, because they can't, like a producer or director, make the decision to go to another shot, another hole, another player. If you're out there, you know, you've bought your $10 beer, you can't go watch somebody else just by generally turning around and seeing another shot live. It just doesn't work that way. So I think it's respect all the way around for the fan, not just the person sitting at home watching on television.
George Wall Ford in Red Bank, New Jersey is family owned and operated, proudly serving New Jersey residents with superior customer service since 1960. Rye, Share your story about your experience there.
Mike, I went on a tangent in one of our episodes previously about it, but I can't say enough good things about George Wall Ford. I needed a new car. I had an old. I loved the brand that I had. I loved, it was an SUV, but had 165,000 miles on it. It was just time, So I hopped on over to George Wall Ford. I saw our guy Jerry, and Jerry and his team were awesome. I mean, from stem to stern, they're there, they're helping, they're knowledgeable. They have so many cars on the lot that you can go in and say, hey, I want a sunroof, a navigation. I want this kind of rims on it. I want this kind of this, that, and the other thing. There's a great chance that they have that car with all your specs, the color, all that thing. Me, I didn't particularly care. I was like, hey, I want to be high up in the car, right? I need an SUV. I'm a big guy. I got a dog. I got golf clubs. I got beach chairs in the summer. I need something that's a little more rugged, a little more. Again, I like to be higher in my car. And I went and saw Jerry. He pointed me in the right direction. And again, it's awesome to have that kind of help and support from your salesman to the finance guy to even they got somebody who helps you set up your car, right? I got an app on my phone now that's got my auto start on it. I can locate my car if I don't know where it is. I could take a trip to Japan if I wanted to and be like, did I lock my car? And I can go into the app and lock my car. So even people helping you set up that stuff, just the hands-on approach over there is incredible. So if you need a car, head on over to George Wall. And go ask for Jerry. They were awesome there. Again, stem to stern from everybody. I can't say enough good things about it. It was an unbelievable experience.
So to Ryan's point, there isn't a better place to shop for a brand new car. Just call 732-704-1932 and ask for Jeremy Wall. George Wall Ford in Red Bank for all your car buying needs. Yeah, listen. I
didn't think about like the fan there is not who I think about whenever I think about the slow play. I think about the guy like me sitting on his couch watching the
right.
You're like, I've taken 4 naps in this front 9.
Yeah, and I think too it dribbles down because the AJGA does a very good job of keeping players moving. But not every kid comes up and has their formative years in the AJGA, so they're not exposed to that. So then it falls on state and regional golf associations, who generally short on staff, and so that becomes a difficulty. When you get to college, there's a lot of hand-holding going on, and it seems to slow down there. So the job is really on the Epsom Tour, on the Corn Ferry Tour, to re-engage the speed and the efficiency of getting around a golf course, so that by the time players get to the big stage, we've already established a good pace, a healthy pace of play.
What would obviously you're out there on a day-to-day basis, more or less. Like you see it. Like, I know they've talked about calling guys out and they're going to start to, put some memos out there. Like, are you, as a former player as well, like, are you in agreement of like, hey, listen, Mike Puro, it's taken you 5.5 hours to play 18 holes. Like, are you okay? Like, are you cool with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. My big turning point, I moved to the Loxahatchee Club in the winter of 1998.
Phenomenal golf course.
Great.
Golf course.
I mean, practice facility, all of it. That was home. I lived on the 16th hole. And
Nice.
when you played generally with 3 other members, or a combination of 4. You had 2 caddies, and it was 4 hours, period. So my brain was completely retrained that year to move, because I don't want to get a letter in my locker. So when I went on tour, it was really hard, because now we've got 3 players, 3 professional caddies, and we can't get around in less than 5 hours. That's a big difference. And I remember calling a player out, and we were 3 holes into it, and we were already on the clock. And I just looked at her and I said, "You are slow," and she flew off that tee. So sometimes it just takes like a jarring experience. Like, these are the numbers. You got to do better. You just got to do better. And it's not just it's not just, that wasn't a comment at the last group at Farmers Insurance. It wasn't about a CBS event. It wasn't about a PGA Tour telecast. It was about the whole game of golf in general. and particularly about kids who are patterning their patterns after this behavior.
Dottie, the thing that I think Mike and I see quite a bit is people, and I kind of always say, like, you can go through your process, right? If your process is super slow, we got to fix it, right? But if you know that your process is on the slower side, you have to find ways to be faster. So if it's sneak up the left side of the fairway while someone's still going, and maybe it's a little bit, uncouth to be in front of them when they're hitting, but go off to the side and keep walking so you can get closer to your ball, so you can get there and start your routine faster. It's like,
Ryan,
there's ways
there are lots of ways.
yeah. And I always say that to youth golfers that I see, and I know Mike does the same thing. Is that what needs to happen on tour? Do these guys just need to realize it more? Or is we need to have less caddy interaction, or they need to, like, what is there? And maybe there isn't one, but do you have like a one fix that, like, this is the biggest problem I'm seeing?
I think the interaction is part of the problem, or the length of the interaction. But there's ways to tighten this up, and it's simply by never walking past the golf ball to get a yardage. You should be paying attention to markers on your way to the golf ball, so you're walking toward the target. And if it comes to, I mean, I don't love the optics of it, but when you hit a ball 30 yards offline, and now you're doing the Pythagorean theorem to try to get a yardage, maybe the rangefinder does help in that situation. If it again, I don't love the look, but I love the fact. I like the dropped anchor look of players just not moving in a group, or the whole golf course being backed up a lot. I don't like that at all. I mean, I'd rather see a rangefinder than have that sort of a thing. But I think forward motion is a big thing. And put your, for regular play, put the bag next to the exit where you're going to get to the next tee, so that you're not walking around. I mean, it's simple stuff, just more efficient. It doesn't have to be, everybody's running and huffing and puffing up to a golf ball. Not even close. But just pay attention as you start getting to the golf ball. And when you're within, 15, 20, 25 yards, start, looking at where sprinkler heads and markers are, and start using that time going forward. We've already been back there. Let's not have to go up and back.
I think that's a great point. The efficiency is something huge. Like putting your bag, where you're going to be exiting from, then getting to the ball,
right.
Walking off. Like if you see that you're close within 15 yards of your ball, and there's a sprinkler head with a number on it, start walking from there.
Bet. Yeah, it's not that hard. And you're not in anybody's way doing that.
No. Like you said, efficiency is a big problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like the idea then, like something like a TGL where they put a shot clock on, and they put that clock on there, and it makes you go, and these guys are still very good that they're able to process that quicker. Do you like something like that?
I think you could do. It would be difficult to do across the entire golf course.
Yeah,
right? You're talking a lot of volunteers. When do you start? When do you stop? So how do you narrow that field? How do you narrow the arena that you use a shot clock? Had this discussion for a couple of months now. How about two stakes that are pounded into the ground 20 yards short of the green? Well, we have camera towers now on every hole in professional golf, and that's where the shot clock is. When you cross that 20-yard line, that's when it starts. And I've got X amount of time, or I've got, within 3 steps off the green, this is where the shot clock engages. It would be really difficult, but that could be doable, because there is a tower and it's visible for everybody, and it starts at a specific point. Across the golf course, it's almost impossible.
Yeah, I guess I see what you're saying. And like an arena may be easier because it's up on the board. But like when a guy like Rory comes out the following week and counters and says, like, nobody was complaining about how slow golf was, X amount of years ago or last year.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were.
I feel like there's certain people that like kind of live in a box, and maybe he's one of them, because I feel like anytime Patrick Cantlay's brought up, it's always about slow play.
Yeah, Rory made the comment toward the end of that little run he had that what's 15 minutes matter? 15 minutes matters a lot. If you go over into local news, I mean, they're not very happy at the affiliate level when national programming goes into their time, because they've got local sponsors, they've got for shows that they've prepared. 15 minutes is a lot. You think about Pebble on Thursday and Friday, they got off the air 15 minutes early because they had no golf to show, and the tournament director was ecstatic. He's like, "This is the fastest we've ever played. This is so cool." So, yeah, 15 minutes matters. It may not seem that way if you haven't sat in a truck or listened to an affiliate. The program director affiliate going, "They just blew up my nut. They just blew up my news show. I'm done." And I got to do make goods for my local advertisers. What do I do?
Is there, you talk about like, and I didn't think about having like a shot clock once you get onto the green. I was thinking more of a shot clock over every shot. And I'm thinking the guy who has the pole that's got their names on it with what they are, if there was, and you might know better than me, maybe this is ridiculous, but could there be either another person or add another layer to that where like a guy just pushes a button, he's walking with that group anyway, or she's walking with that group anyway. As soon as someone engages their golf ball at some point, whether it's like gets to it finally, start the clock. And if you're the first person to play, you have, say, a minute for round numbers. And then I'm on the right side of the fairway, you're on the left side of the fairway. I'm hitting first. I have a minute once I get to my ball. Then the next guy, you should have done all your work. Maybe we're giving him 20 seconds. Like there's a person walking with every group that could have that technology. I don't know how, I don't know if it's truly doable, but that seems like it would be a way to enforce it as well.
Yeah, except they're volunteers.
Yeah, I was going to say, and sometimes they're kids.
Yeah, they're kids, and this was a real educating thing for me too. I have friends that work in scoring at the Phoenix event, and they have, because of betting, and because you can now place bets within groups and all of that, they've had to take a lot of their junior volunteers away because it has to be right and they have to be consistent the whole way across. So you have to know the proper order of play. So now you're starting to put more people inside the ropes, and that's what the tour is trying not to do. So, but you're talking potential, a lot of money, a lot of FedEx points, a lot of, a lot of penalties. And I would hate to see that come down to a volunteer making an arbitrary call about when it actually started. But I think if there's a defined time that it has to kick in a defined space, now we've eliminated that, because ShotLink can tell you that. They know when they've gotten within 20 yards of the green. The ShotLink thing is, they know how fast everybody is, and they've known about it for a while. They just haven't been able to actually use all those data points in a positive way, and now they're doing that.
Yeah, I like the idea of just not of holding people accountable. I think it's really that simple. It's really what it comes down to.
It won't take long.
The New Jersey Golf Foundation, the charitable arm of the New Jersey PGA section, is committed to positively impacting lives and communities through the game of golf, with a focus on 3 core pillars: youth, military, and special needs, and led by PGA of America golf professionals. The New Jersey Golf Foundation hosts a dynamic lineup of annual programs for all levels and abilities, and a series of special events to support programming. Signature youth programs include golf in schools and PGA Junior League, while military programming is highlighted by PGA Hope, helping our patriots everywhere, a weekly rehabilitative golf program that is saving the lives of military veterans. The foundation is also a strong advocate for inclusion through support of Special Olympics New Jersey Golf and L's for Autism. To support programs and special events, please visit njgolffoundation.org or call 732-465-1212. That's njgolffoundation.org or 732-465-1212. I think obviously with some of the changes, before I get into the Masters, I just kind of want to get your take on this. Like, I feel like the PGA Tour has made significant changes like this season, with one of them being like 125 in the FedEx Cup going to 100, kind of like, maybe more signature events, less opportunities coming from the Corn Ferry Tour onto the PGA Tour. And it seems to be like a more of an exclusive club. Like it's only the best of the best. And we're not that Joe Highsmith story is just kind of maybe not out there at times.
How
Like
great was that story, by the way?
unbelievable. Like
Really
those are
Right?
things.
Yeah.
There's your
Those
guy
are,
on the cut.
Yep.
I know. Oh, good
That's
point.
the guy
Very
on the
good.
cut.
Yeah.
Perfect
Yeah.
point. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. And those
Full
are
circle.
stories. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Those are stories I think you love.
Yeah.
I feel like what is your opinion on all these changes?
I think they're a little too harsh, and I think I think a lot of guys have gotten to the pinnacle and said, "Whoop, I'm pulling up the ladder,"
Yeah.
uh, and where just what we were talking about, that Fuller Field. Now maybe I do think 156 or even 144 when there's not enough daylight hours and you can't make a cut on Friday is not doing professional golf, any golf, any good. So I think
Hard no.
move the sides of the fields as sunset and sunrise starts to help you. So they have to. So there's a little flexibility there, and I do think there's space for these signature events, but give me 100 in those signature events. If that's your number for the year to keep your job, then give me 100 instead of 70, whatever they're putting up there now. And I do think that cut in those signature events needs to be a little. If they're playing for that amount of money and they've earned the right to be in there, then let's make that cut even smaller.
Yeah. I love that idea.
Or take the
I
10
love
shots
that.
away. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that idea.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I think there's a consistent number there at 100 that can be recognized because that is the number that you're going to keep your privileges for the next year.
yeah, it's a big number now. It's a big number.
Yeah.
Which leads us into this week being the Masters. And I know, we're recording a little earlier than Augusta's happening, but with the storm that went through that place, what changes do you foresee or project that may look different to some of us on the outside compared to you seeing it in person?
I don't think at home you're going to notice that big of a difference unless you are super trained on trees and horticulture. But there are some trees that are gone. The tree long of 11 is gone. There are a couple trees down in that cove that are not there anymore. Two of the three trees long of 15 are gone. I was there to shoot a piece not too many days ago. But it hadn't all leafed out yet either. So it was still pretty thin because it was a cold winter. Mornings had continued to be cold. They hadn't had a lot of rain. There wasn't a lot of fuel in nature's belly yet. That has changed since. And we're looking at, some heat the week before the Masters, some moisture in the forecast. So I think you're going to see a fullness. But there are some, if you've been there a lot of times, there will be places that look different. I think there's the potential for 16 to play different. There are less trees between 5 and 6, so the wind could potentially come whistling in through. They're stronger than it typically has. There are also less trees. Rory brought up a great point that if you have a sunny day, those holes down there at 13 and 16 sit pretty low. Shadows get long. Maybe there won't be as many sort of annoying shadows. Maybe it actually gets a little simpler. So there's the flip side of that. The other side is, there's some thinning in between holes of the trees. Maybe we see more hero shots because they're just not as thick as they had been in the past. So I think there's going to be a little bit of both, but I think your eye would have to be really trained to see something that was really badly out of place. It's pretty remarkable what they were able to do. And what's also remarkable is the amount of work that's left to do in that city. I don't think it's gotten enough attention about the devastation, and it is so sad. It's really they were hit so hard.
Yeah, it is. It is. I know to that point. I'm hopeful that this week it gets really kind of brought to light so people can really truly understand. Like this is. I know the golf course may not look like it, but let me tell you the real story outside the gates.
Exactly. 11 people died.
Mm-hmm.
And there are still. When I went down there, it's very obvious where they think there may have been like mini tornadoes that spurred off, where some areas were virtually untouched and others were absolutely leveled. There's still root balls around the edges of certain neighborhoods. It's really sad, but and also, applaud the mission work that's been done in the area, the way the club supported the community. And they didn't ask this I think really was underreported. They didn't ask those employees of Augusta National to come back until they got their stuff in order at home. That was, give it the priority that it needs, and the respect that your family situation needs. That was really, really important.
Do you know if there's going to be something on the broadcast about that, shedding light onto the community and the struggles that they're still going through?
I don't know that it'll be on the main telecast, but maybe the other platforms. I think we're gonna stick to competitions from what I've been told. But there are certainly plenty of other programming opportunities that will have more time to dig down into that, and celebrate how far they have come. But still, there's a lot more to go.
How excited are you that your friend Frank Nobelo's taken over in 16 for Vern? I mean, when I
So
saw that,
good.
I'm like, this is perfect. This is
It is
perfect. I
perfect.
mean, what did you think of that?
I was Vern's housemate for the last couple of years, and we shared his final dinner Sunday night after we were off the air last year. And one of the final things he said was, "I really hope Frank gets the job." And when I told him, Vern and I spoke Monday night, Sunday or Monday. I guess it was Sunday prior, Sunday of Houston. And I told him, what was going to happen, and he was just so happy for Frank. Partly because, as he said, Frank has an impish personality, or impish kind of sense of humor, and Frank's been studying the way Vern just laid out or said very little and let the golf talk, which Frank is really naturally good at anyway. So I think it was really, really great call.
I agree.
That's such an underrated feature in a broadcaster. I'm not in broadcast, so I wouldn't know, but I would imagine that your job is to talk and your job is to present what's going on. But sometimes just laying out, like when Tiger won in 19, it just letting it sit and breathe is such an underrated skill in broadcasting.
It is, and I was really fortunate to have kind of eavesdropped on a conversation my first week working for NBC. It was actually USA when they still had the Thursday, Friday coverage. We were at Doral. And the group I was finished with, or the group I was assigned to, had finished, and I was on a car going back in, and I left my headset on. I wanted to listen to the rest of the show. And I heard Bob Murphy in a break say, I think she's going to be okay because she listens more than she talks. And that's a really important part, that we're speaking, but you want to hear the contact of the golf ball. You want to hear the enthusiasm from the crowd. You want to hear the caddy player conversation. You want to hear all of that. And if we're talking too much, you're not going to hear that.
And right, to your point, when we had Jim Nantz on, that was one of the things he said. It was like, I'm just going to be quiet here and let the moment be the moment.
Let the moment. Yeah, and it's and Nance would tell you too that Frank Chirkinian, legendary director and producer together at CBS Sports, would say, "I can see that he came up 4 feet short. It's a visual medium. Tell me something I can't see." Those sort of things. That's the fourth putt in the last 5 holes he left short. Now that's important. Mm-hmm. But I know it's 4 feet short. I'm watching my television.
That's so good. Now, I mean, I got to ask this question. And I know we talked last night about, like, Mike, there's no way I can pick this winner. There's no shot unless you got a winner for me at Saratoga. I get all that. But I have to ask you this question. Who do you think wins the 2025 Masters?
I think you're going to see Scottie Scheffler with 3 wins in 4 years.
Wow.
I do. I think he's rounded into form right on time.
Wow. You said that like with no hesitation.
No.
As if you knew.
No, I gotta. I'd be surprised if he wasn't part of the story, and I would not be surprised if he won.
Okay.
Wow.
Give me a sleeper. Do you think like Rory has any chance?
I do. I do. I think we don't know much about this right elbow that he supposedly was.
Oh,
So was that a hammock that he was putting underneath the week just in
oh,
case things didn't go?
listen.
I don't
I'm
know.
I'm so happy you brought that up because yes, my answer is he needs an out because like if he had like, something that like he just can't get done, I feel like it's Augusta and he needs an out that if I don't play well, I have something to blame.
Yeah,
It's his kryptonite.
but what? Oh, you stole my word! Darn it! That's it. I literally wrote that word down this morning. I was like, it's kryptonite. Um, I was disappointed that there was no follow up to that question. You have to ask, when did it start, and what's the treatment protocol? What's the plan going forward? Not just I'm gonna get I got something to pay attention to here. But yeah,
You can't drop that bomb like that. You can't. I
no,
hope someone asks him at the presser about it because you have to. He's
yeah,
playing great golf. How can you use that as an out? If he was playing terrible, I'd get it. He won at Pebble. He's in contention all the time. He's doing big things. He's relevant.
Yeah.
And now we're going to
well,
throw this out there?
it seemed to yeah. But I again, I think that doesn't have the fuel or the question unless the follow questions are asked. That could have come full circle and been had a nice little button put on it. It's been it's just the last couple of days have been icing. We're going to go, we got some stim going on. I anticipate that nothing is the problem. That could have all been
Like you
rinsed and
said,
washed away.
button,
Button it
done,
up, done.
moved up. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Little sketchy. Little
I
sketchy.
think this is 11 times now that he's been chasing this. That's a lot of pressure in the cooker. He's been there twice now prior to the tournament. Um, the start will be key. He has, traditionally over the last half decade or so, Thursdays have been bad. He hasn't, and he's had to work very hard to make a cut, and then, backdoor top 5, top 10. The Thursday is going to be a big deal.
One sleeper pick.
Harris English.
Wow.
That's a real sleeper too, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
That's an outside the box pick.
Tends to play hard golf courses well.
He's won.
He has won this year. And this is really a long shot because the guy's never shot in the 60s at Augusta National. But I just like his demeanor. I like the way he hits the golf ball. I like his old school way of thinking. And I think this could be a year that he surprises people there.
Well,
So-
listen, that clip is going to be used. If Harris English wins, we're going to the moon, baby. We are going to the moon on Dottie Pepper's prediction.
How funny. I think he could do all right.
Do you think the scores will be higher this year then? Is that with thinking Harris, who plays hard golf courses well and never been in the 60s, do you think it'll be a lower overall score this year?
I think that it's very weather dependent. I think it's super. I mean, they have a sub-air system, but I think wind is still the biggest protection that a golf course has, and we don't really know how that's going to affect it with less trees, with the golf course being more open. I think there's going to be, and look, there's another element to less trees being in play in certain situations. People are going to have to adjust their start lines. That tree that's been there forever is all of a sudden not my target line anymore. It's just not there anymore. So I think it's who gets over that learning curve a little bit quicker during the week. But weather's always the big thing. I mean, look, last year on Friday, we have sand blowing out of bunkers, and the average score was just something so big and so nasty, and it got cold. And we also have a pretty big field. Because there's so many players in it, you could get the bad side of a flip of the draw.
Yeah, little luck plays.
So that there's luck will play a little bit into it, but I think the start is so important. It's just a really hard golf course to try to draft from behind.
I can't wait to watch. I can't wait to follow you. And listen, I can't thank you enough. I know I say this all the time to you, but I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, chatting with us. You know,
happy to do
I
it.
know it's a yearly thing, but listen, Ryan and I, it's like Christmas come early for us.
You backed me right into a corner trying to make those predictions. I had to.
It's what he does, Dottie. I deal with it every single week. Every week he busts my chop about one thing or the other. It's what he does.
But you could go on the limb here, Dottie. If it happens, listen, we're going to the moon.
Right?
You're coming with us, and we're flying, baby.
Got
it. But thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
You're very welcome. It's always a good visit with you guys.
Always is. Thanks, Dottie. Take care.
You got it.